Today, we're digging into something pretty wild. The massive boom happening right now in India's homegrown defense industry. We're going to look at the companies, the big picture strategy, and, believe me, some really surprising business models popping up as India pushes to build its own gear.
Okay, so what do naval destroyers and dairy farms have in common? I know, it sounds like the start of a really weird joke, right? A high-tech warship and a milking parlor? But stick with me, because the answer tells this incredible story about business, big-time strategy, and a nation's ambition. And the key to that whole riddle? Well, it's all happening inside India's booming defense sector. You see, the country's making this massive strategic pivot. The goal? To become a true global powerhouse when it comes to military manufacturing.
The engine behind all of this change is the Make in India initiative. It's this nationwide push that's just supercharging domestic production across the board. And boy, is it having a huge effect on the defense industry. We're not just talking about building tanks and planes here. It's about creating a whole ecosystem. And that, right there, is where things get unexpected.
All right, let's dive into our first example. It's a company called Krishna Defense and Allied Industries. We'll just call them KDIAL. They are the perfect example of the kind of unique opportunities popping up in this defense boom. And yep, they are the key to our little riddle from the start.
So you can really see KDIAL's aggressive strategy here. These guys aren't just sitting around waiting for government contracts to fall into their lap. No way. They are actively building out their capabilities, they're teaming up with a Dutch company for naval parts, they're buying into a marine design firm, and they're boosting their ownership in a tactical communications company. It's a classic case of positioning themselves to be a go-to, indispensable supplier.
And boom, here it is, the answer to our question. Just look at this revenue split. For the 2024-25 financial year, defense products, a massive 18,583 lakhs. But check out that second line. Dairy and kitchen equipment, bringing in over 900 lakhs. So naval destroyers and dairy farms, they are literally both part of KDIAL's bottom line. How about that?
Okay, so we've seen a company that does a bit of everything. Now let's flip the script and look at a total specialist. Meet Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers, or GRSE for short. These guys are an absolute heavyweight in Indian shipbuilding, and their numbers, well, they tell a story of just incredible scale and growth. Just look at that number, 23,877 crore rupees. That is a huge order book. We're not talking about 1 or 2 ships here. This is for 40 different platforms across 10 major projects. It just gives you a sense of the sheer scale of work that's fueling this whole naval expansion.
And you know what? That massive order book is translating directly into some eye-popping financial results. Let's compare the last quarter of FY25 with the same time the year before. Revenue, up 62%. That's good. But the profit figures, they're just wild. Profit before tax shot up 112%, and profit after tax was up a staggering 118%. Folks, that is what hypergrowth looks like in the real world.
And it's not just the numbers. The company's leadership is feeling pretty good about the future. The chairman and managing director basically says, hey, with our order book, our mature production lines, and clear visibility on what's next, I'm confident we're gonna do even better. I mean, that's about as clear a signal of strength and optimism as you can get from the top.
Okay, so we've looked at a diversified company and a shipbuilding giant. But what's behind all this? What's the engine that's really driving all this success? Well, it all comes down to the government's very clear, very long-term naval strategy.
It's a strategy that's built on 3 really powerful pillars. First, a huge fleet expansion. The goal is to add more than 40 new warships by 2035. Second, and this is crucial, a laser focus on building these ships right there in India. And third, the government is putting some serious money where its mouth is to back this whole thing up.
And when I say serious money, I mean serious money. We're talking an estimated 2 lakh crore rupees. That is a massive investment. That level of commitment from the government is exactly what creates the entire market for companies like KDIAL and GRSE to not just survive, but to really thrive. It's the rocket fuel for this entire boom.
But look, any industry that's growing this fast is bound to have some challenges, right? So let's wrap this up by taking a really balanced look at the future. We'll weigh all these incredible opportunities against the risks, because they are very, very real.
So really, it's 2 sides of the same coin. On the one hand, the opportunities are just massive. You've got huge government investment, a clear long-term national goal, and a growing hunger for homegrown tech. But on the other side, the risks are no joke. Geopolitical tensions could throw a wrench in supply chains and budgets. Quality control has to be absolutely perfect, or you risk losing contracts. And the competition is intense. To win in this game, it takes more than just great engineering. It takes brilliant strategy.
And all of that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? The investment is there. The national ambition is definitely there. The talent is there. But turning all that potential into a truly sustainable, globally competitive industry, well, that's the final boss. Can India's homegrown defense industry navigate all these risks to actually meet its global ambitions? That, right there, is the story to watch.